I thought so. I thought he was like just doing like producer and producing jobs and just
He didn't direct Magic Mike.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, he did the original. He didn't do
XXL or XL.
Yeah, that's right.
We're really talking about this right now.
Hey man, have you seen
Jesus.
that movie? It's a good movie.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 6 of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by Sifted.net subscribers, where we invite community guests onto the show every week to talk about the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, Vin Hill, and joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski.
Hey, guys.
And joining us as well is, of course, our very, very special guest this week, the god of Sifted himself, the creator of the site, the one, the ultimate, Brent Philips is joining us this week.
God's a little strong, maybe like divine architect.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, me too. You should totally just rename yourself that on the site. Just camel case and everything. But yeah, we have a few housekeeping points this week. The main one, which we wanted to sort of say, was a massive thank you to Shane for featuring the podcast actually on the site. You know, it's been awesome. Like everyone's been really positive about it. Like so many people are just saying nice things, you know, saying, oh, it's really cool. I'm really enjoying this. Like, I'm really enjoying you guys' personality and stuff like this. And yeah, like the overall feedback has just been great. So we want to give a huge thank you to like everyone that's listening to the show. Like it's really great that people are enjoying it, you know. And that's not to say we're not going to still improve. Like we're still only 6 episodes in. Well, this will be the 6th episode, but you know, we're still trying to improve. We're doing the best that we can, but yeah, it'll only get better over time. Just seeing like all the positive feedback from everyone, it's been really nice to see. Like, I don't think we've seen anything negative, really, have we, Evan?
No. I mean, I'm sure there's some stuff out there. Maybe those people are keeping it to themselves, but nothing big. But yeah, I can't believe it.
It's a great podcast, guys. There's nothing to be negative about.
Well, we're still learning. Like every week, I think we're getting a bit better at it. So it's just. But
yeah.
Other than that, we've also got a correction from Evan this week, something to do with Zelda. What was that?
Yeah, I'm actually correcting myself. No one called me out on it. When I was talking about one of the moves that Link does in Twilight Princess, it's the move where you Z target and he rolls around the enemy and does an upward slash.
Okay.
I said he rolls around the enemy and does like a Hadouken, which doesn't make any sense. I meant
because that's like the Street Fighter move.
Yeah, I meant the Shoryuken. The upward, you know, dragon punch.
He still meant a Street Fighter move. He just meant the right Street Fighter move.
Yeah, so sorry, my mistake.
But let's move on. We're going to ask a few questions to our guest this week. And as it's a very special guest, we're going to ask a few more questions than normal. But we do want to start off with the traditional question, which we ask all of our guests every week. And that is, Brent, if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only take one game with you and its corresponding console, the palm trees have Wi-Fi, so you're all set there. What game would you choose and why?
This is so easy, man. It's always World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft?
Like something you got to play like forever? Yeah, of course.
Well, as long as you're stuck on the island, I guess. Like, I don't know. We never really went into that. Like, you could be on the island for a day. Like, no one actually knows. No one's actually...
For an indeterminate amount of time, I think the answer is still Warcraft, man.
I didn't know you could leave the island. I thought that was it.
It's just when you're visiting the island, what game are you going to play?
What kind of question is that? Like,
it's a bit stretched out, but yeah, pretty much. But yeah, you still playing World of Warcraft? Like, you still an active member?
No, I think I have an active subscription, but I don't know. I pop in there every once in a while. It's just really fun.
Yeah,
and then you'll get bored of it and you'll stop. But I usually come back. They've done a really good job of changing the game over the years. It's a completely different game now than it was. And it's just such a shitload of content, man. If you're stuck on an island, you're just like, well, I'm going to experience everything.
Do you have a favorite expansion?
Wrath of the Lich King was when my guild was at its height, and we killed the Lich King, and that was kind of the culmination of the story starting in Warcraft 3. So it was very satisfying.
Okay.
I remember they added an expansion. It was Cataclysm or something, where they just completely changed the whole world, and it was like, whoa, like physically as well. It wasn't just like mechanically as well.
Yeah, they needed to do that. It was getting a little long in the tooth. It kind of still is.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, well, it's been going for what, like 12 years now or something? It's been going a long time.
I've never played it.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I did the beta in 2001, so...
Oh, Jesus, that is a long... I didn't realize it was that old. Christ.
I think it came out in like 2003 or 4 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's a good game. I mean, a lot of people might put a stigma over it because it is World of Warcraft, but, you know, it's definitely got its reputation for a good reason. Yeah. I mean, I haven't played it in about 5 years, so...
Hey, when the new expansion comes out, we'll start up a Sifted guild. It'd be sweet.
Yeah, we should. I don't know. I don't even know if I could jump back into Warcraft right now. Just life, you know? That's the only thing that scares me about it. So I remember how much time it used to take up just to like run around and level up. Like, I'll just do it in a couple of hours, and then like that's it. That's your Saturday and Sunday gone.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And like clan stuff, especially, it's like, okay, on Tuesday night at this time, you gotta be ready to raid or whatever, and that can get a little rough.
Schedule, right?
Yeah.
That's all good. All right, yeah. Other than that, we just wanted to ask you a few questions, like about yourself and just what you've done in the past and things like this. Like a lot of people know you as the creator of Sifted, but what other stuff did you work on before Sifted? Just so people have a context.
Probably the one you all know most is game trailers. I coded game trailers.
Did you code the original site then, or was it
like, the very original site was by some other guy? I think his name was like Eric or something. But
right,
I met Jeff in the forums of some GameCube site I was writing reviews for.
Really?
And running the forums of, and he asked me to set up the forums for game trailers, and so I set up the forums and kept them online and stuff. And then he asked me to make some change on one of the pages. It's like the change, they had like however many videos served like McDonald's has. And he wanted to update it. And I got in there and it was all just flat HTML. Like there was no content management system. There was nothing. And I was like, dude, when you post a video, how do you do that? And they were like editing like 4 different pages.
Wait, they were hard coding every single post.
They were hard coding the entire website.
Jesus.
And he was like, is there a different way to do it? And I was like, yeah. Yeah, there is, man. He's like, do you know someone that can do it? I was like, yeah, I do. Which was a lie. I totally did not know how to program. But
wait, you
made it happen. No.
Wait, so you started working at Game Trailers before you even knew how to code properly?
I could have probably worked. I mean, how I learned was by reading other people's code and figuring out how it works. So I know a little bit. I'm kind of underselling myself at the time, but taking on a project like that was definitely out of my expertise at the time. But hey, it worked out.
Well, I think everyone has to do that now and then. I mean, with any profession, you learn best from practice, right? Rather than
totally. And it's funny. A lot of that code, it might be terrible, but it worked. So, right. I went to go work for Game Trailers after college, and then, we got bought by Viacom, and so, eventually I'm hiring a bunch of people, and so, like, I'm in charge of, like, 10 programmers, and, like, every now and then one of them would come and show me code. I'm like, who did this? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It was me.
So you're trying to discipline people on your own crappy code. Awesome.
So what year was that when you got hired onto Game Trailers?
I came to work for them full time in 2005, but I kind of started with them in like 2003 when we set up the forums.
Right. So, and you were there all the way through, or like when did you actually finish up with Game Trailers?
I left in 2010. So I eventually became the VP of technology for Spike Digital, which was Game Trailers, Spike.com, and some other smaller guys. It was basically those two. And I spent pretty much all day, every day trying to protect Game Trailers from being like corporately redone. And it was pretty clear that they didn't want that anymore. So that's when, they replaced the video player with the Viacom player. And then they rebuilt the CMS and the community. Like, Jesus Christ, I spent so much time on that community, and they just like wiped it out. Like all the
Oh,
user
that
names,
must
the blogs, all
that
that
must
shit.
have sucked to see.
I do remember that happening. There was a lot of like complaints just like about the new player and like the whole changes to the site. And like I understand like a lot of people walked away from the community at that point as well.
Yeah, I
it was
mean,
really sad.
we got on the Viacom player, and I spent a lot of time working with there's like one team that was kind of outside of any of the properties that worked on this player, and I spent a lot of time with them trying to get it to work. And
Right.
eventually I had to like figure it out and then give them credit for fixing it. It was retarded. There was a lot of politics and stuff with it, but I just wanted it fixed. I don't give a shit.
Right. Well, on the good side, the sifted player is awesome. I've never had a problem.
No, I don't think I have either.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't code that. Video players are a solved problem these days, man. I just pulled I don't even know what library it's called. It's all HTML5 now. Back then, you had to code your own Flash stuff to make anything work.
But saying that, I think Game Trailers was one of, if not the first, like HD player, right? It was one of the first ones out there.
I mean, we were certainly the first ones that made it a serious issue for the site. Like every trailer, everything we did also had an HD version, which wasn't actually HD. It was HD in the fact that it was higher than SD, but it wasn't like 720p or anything. It was 640 by 360 was our HD at the beginning.
Well, I mean, go back 10 years ago. That was a huge deal back then. I mean,
it was
that's pretty much how I got into Game Trailers because of that reason.
It was right around the time that the 360 was starting to get media to come out, and it was that HD video. And you'd go to places like GameSpot and IGN, and they had those little postage stamp players. There's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And this is all pre-YouTube, so Game Trailers our growth at that time was insane. Like I spent most of my time trying to add servers in and make sure that I'd ironed out all the inefficiencies in the code and stuff like that so that it would run. And then every E3 we'd get just hammered.
I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
Well, it's like, imagine your biggest traffic day ever and then times 1,000. Like it was every year. It was just like, it can't be higher than this. We'll be prepared for this. And it's like 10 times that. And you're like, okay, great.
Jesus.
I mean, it was good for Game Trailers, but it was rough.
I wish I would have gotten or knew about Game Trailers earlier. I think I got into it about like 2007 or 8, maybe 2008 or 9. But yeah, I wish I would have known because that's all I hear is how ahead of everything Game Trailers was at the time.
I like to think so. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, like back when I first started, I just checked in now and then just to check all the HD video. But then I think it was when Shane came around and that whole wave of people that he hired as well, that's when I really started just like getting invested in the site because like the site started having a lot more personality for me. But
that's when we actually started to be like legit. Before Shane got there, like I don't know, I wrote reviews. Brandon obviously did. Like whoever was willing to do stuff just did it. It was very much startup, all hands on deck kind of stuff. And then, we got bought by Viacom, and we had a little bit more money to actually like pay people and hire people to do jobs that are actually trained for it. People that know how to write and stuff like that. So. Shane coming on was a huge time for Game Trailers. It was, we weren't just that random site that had trailers in HD anymore. We were a force to be reckoned with. It was a huge change for everybody.
No, yeah, I do remember. I mean, just like it makes me sad just like thinking back to like how many like shows and like personalities there were on like the older Game Trailers. It's like, yeah, it's crazy like how big it got and like how fast it can fall. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, man, ads aren't what they used to be.
No. Well, good old YouTube and ad blocker.
Yeah.
That's the thank for the demise, but yeah, it's all good.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I live now, actually. After I left Game Trailers in 2010, I went to go, I did some other stuff in between, but I eventually went to go work for Jeff Groats, who's the guy who started Game Trailers with Brandon. He's the other founder.
Okay.
He started up a music technology company, and that's still where I work. I do R&D for them.
Okay,
oh, cool.
So you work out of the house?
Yeah. I was working from home and living in LA, paying 3 times the rent of anywhere else in the country. So I could give myself a huge raise if I moved. So we moved here.
But yeah, how is that like? Just working over the internet with everything? Is it still just as good as it was when you're in office at Game Trailers, or
No, not even close, man. Working at Game Trailers was fantastic. I can't imagine there being any other better working situation. Everyone was so passionate about everything, and like take the positivity of the Sifted community, and like that's your workplace. It was just everyone loved games. Everyone loved what they were doing. Everyone was good at what they did. It was, it was very easy to like everyone around you.
Right.
And we were legitimately doing like new stuff no one had ever done. It was exciting.
You guys must have had some great conversations. Just,
very, very nerdy conversations. That was the first time I'd ever been somewhere where, like, until I got to Game Trailers, I was the nerdiest person in every room I walked into. Once I got there, I was beaten handily by a few people. It was nice.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah, working from home's hard, but I don't know. I actually get to like see my kids and stuff. It works out.
Yeah, I've done a bit of freelance in the past, but like for me, like sitting in my house all day, like starts to like crawl away at me. Like I think I'm just that sort of person that belongs in a studio, But yeah, I'm always curious to hear other people's takes on that, because sometimes people are just like, "Oh, I hate studio work," and other people are like, "Oh, I don't ever want to leave the house." So it's always interesting.
I've got an office and headphones, so I can disappear if I need to.
Yeah, it's just a really, really short commute, right?
Sure. Yeah, save a lot on gas.
Yeah. So after you finished up with Game Trailers, you started on Sifted straight away, or was it like quite a while afterwards until Shane got into it?
No. I left Game Trailers in 2010, and then I did some R&D for the company that. So Jeff and Brandon started Game Trailers, and then this guy John Slusser and his company came in and financed them for a while until Viacom bought them. And I went to go work for that company after I left Game Trailers, and then I was also doing a little bit of the work I'm doing now on the side with the music tech. And my boss at that job came to me and was like, he found out about that company. He was like, the company was doing really well. And he was like, what if you guys sell tomorrow? What are you going to do? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, are you going to quit? It's like, of course I'm going to quit if I sell the company, and have like $10 million. I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. He's like, that's fair. What would you do? It's like, I think I'd make video games. He's like, okay. And he leaves the room, and I'm thinking like, what amount of money would it take for me to quit and make video games? And I realized I had that amount of money in my bank account. So I quit. And I spent a year or so trying to make an iPad game, which is still like 90% done, but it's not fun.
Right.
And then during the time that this was happening, the music tech company Source Audio was doing really well, so I went full time with them. And then about, I guess it was October of 2014, Shane hit me up, had the idea for Sifted and wanted me to build it.
Oh well, the site's awesome, man. Like I can't praise you enough over it.
Thanks.
I mean, it's silky smooth. It's pretty much everything that you'd want out of a gaming site.
Yeah. It's like the fat's been trimmed, it's cut down, the design's nice, everything works, and I've liked all the little tweaks. Over the past year, it's just been getting better and better. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason everything works is because I'm on there every fucking day reading the news. Like I'm a total convert. Like a lot of freelance projects, like you done, you walk, like that's it. But like people,
but you actually use
like, hey,
the
wouldn't it
site
be cool
that
if
you
I did it? Yeah, I add like the fave icon showing notifications. Like Shane didn't ask for that, and I didn't ask Shane. I just did it because I wanted it.
Dude, when I saw that last week just show up, like I didn't even know you'd put it in, and like I was looking at my tabs, and like I literally saw it live, like as it popped in. I was like, I just like almost out loud, I was like, Brent, you're a legend. That's awesome. Like, I actually saw it straight away.
Oh, yeah, it's just one of those things you don't necessarily know that you want it, and then you see it, you're like, oh, that's perfect. It's so helpful.
So yeah, I think I mean, Shane's main idea was making a site that A, could survive without ads, and B, was something he wanted to see. And I think that worked out really well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we use it a lot, so yeah.
I mean,
definitely
prior to Sifted, I had like an RSS reader with, GameSpot, IGN, Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun, all those guys in it, and like if big news comes through, you get 6 versions of the same story and stuff like that, and Sifted just solves all those problems. I mean, I don't have to pitch you guys on Sifted. I don't know what I'm doing, but
no, well, you pitched it to the listeners, so
yeah, it really works.
Listen to this outside of Sifted.
It works, man. So yeah, I'm there trying to make it good.
Yeah, I mean, the site's a little neon green nowadays, but
I'll tell you what, man, we did not.
It works perfectly.
Well, we did not expect that many people to do the Elite. It is awfully green. Well, yeah, that's totally up to Shane. We'll have to see.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, just for a bit of context, like any listeners that we have that are outside of Sifted, on Sifted, they have recently just implemented, well, I don't know why I'm saying they, Brent just recently implemented a donate button. And when you donate over $50 to the site, then it re-changes the color of your avatar border and your background where your text appears on certain comments. But at the moment, it's really vibrant and green. So, like, because so many people have signed up to the elite status, quote unquote, it's the whole site has pretty much become neon green because there's just so many. I think, it was just a bit.
Okay, to be fair,
I can't believe how many people saw it.
It started off really green, and I halved the green. It's not nearly as bad now.
No, yeah, I'm not.
It's still pretty good.
I don't expect it to change. Nothing like that. I'm not being like overly privileged or anything like that. It's totally like it's Shane's vision. It's all him. But yeah, for me, it's a bit green. That's it. But yeah, we should probably move on, and we're going to move on into what we've been playing this week. So we'll start off with our guest, which is Brent, of course. Brent, what have you been playing this week?
2 things. So a while ago, for whatever reason, I decided to fire back up Diablo 3. Wow. I'd heard them doing their like seasons and stuff, and I never really understood what it was about. But basically, you start a new character, and there's all these special goals and stuff you do, and me and a friend of mine just played a shit ton of Diablo 3.
I still haven't got around to it. I need to play it. I'm a huge Diablo 2 fan. Every time I hear about Diablo 3, people are saying, "Oh, it's been patched. It's way better." Like,
I mean, I think it was good to start with. It's fantastic now. It's really, really good.
And you're playing on PC, right?
Yeah, we were playing on PC. The other game I was playing was Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh man, I want to play that game so bad.
It's fun. I haven't gotten a ton of time to spend with it, but it's difficult, but the right kind of difficult. It's difficult in the same way that Spelunky is, in that things are lethal, but you can easily defeat them if you learn their patterns and deal with them appropriately. And then the game, kind of layers that stuff on, so you have to. It's different than just like bullet sponge enemies. That's not what it is. It's about dodging stuff and watching telegraphed attacks and things like that. I'm really
so is it like Spelunky in that way where you kind of learn how to do something after dying? Kind of the trial and error of that?
You won't necessarily die from it, although I've died several times. You have like 5 hit points, and then you can have like you have like med kits you can do too.
Okay.
So you're actually pretty survivable if you're careful, and you can dodge pretty far at any time. Like there's almost no cooldown on it. So if you're like if you see a new enemy and he's going nuts, you don't know what you're doing, you can dodge away from him pretty quickly and check him out.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then actually one thing I wanted to ask about that game is I don't want to look at too many screenshots because I don't want to ruin it for myself. But because it's so beautiful, I want to experience it, right in front of me. But some of the areas that, from what I've seen, it's like this weird, like nondescript, like Tron type weird cave with all these bright lights. Do they have anything more grounded in realism, like you're going through a forest or climbing a mountain or something like that?
It's structured very similarly to like A Link to the Past.
Okay.
And like the way that the map works, and then you kind of go down into areas dungeons might be the wrong word, but like caves, I guess.
Okay.
And there are the primary dungeon zones as well, but all the crazy stuff's like underground. The
Okay.
above ground stuff is, I mean, it's not like standard fantasy stuff, but it's definitely more grounded in reality.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Cool. So how about you, Evan? What have you been playing?
Well, I'm still playing Miitomo because I want my Nintendo points. I'm just gonna stack those and see if I'm even gonna get an NX.
So wait, what do you do with my Nintendo points?
You can trade them into get things. You can do it now. I'm pretty sure this might be a clarification, but you trade them in to get like little things like icons or badges for like your 3DS or backgrounds. And actually, I think you can even use them towards game purchases. I don't know if, for example, like you need 10,000 My Nintendo points to buy like a Super Mario World 3D, or is it like, well, I can use 5,000 and get the game for half off? I'm not sure, but
still not very clear.
No. So yeah, Miitomo, I'm still playing it just because. And then I just finished Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Finished it 2 days ago, I think. It took me about like 45 hours.
Congrats. Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the weakest Zelda games. And I'm not going to go into it because we talked about it last week, but like the last fight is absolutely terrible. And it's just one of those things where earlier in the game, they give you kind of the mechanic like it's like a QTE, like a Goron will be rolling towards you, and you have to tap A at the right time to stop him. And then you never use it for the rest of the game. And then in the last fight with Ganondorf, I'm like, okay, look, this is the point where like I learned the 8 techniques from that skeleton. I need to use this to, fight Ganondorf, sword to sword. But that's not what the game asks you to do. You can do all that stuff, but what matters most is there's a point when you're fighting him that he'll charge you, and you just have to hit A at the right time. And if you do that twice, then you beat him. So it's like this is the game. This is the last guy.
I remember that.
I like the disappointment in your voice.
Yeah, and then just one other last thing is just going back a little bit to last week. In the game, like you can ride Epona, but I think I used Epona like twice. Just because it's just easier to warp. You use Midna to warp to certain sections of the map. And so I was just thinking,
it's like giving you a car, but you can just fast travel everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And why not make some of the traversal stuff fun? And you could even, like Zelda, the master of dungeons and puzzles. Why not? Why doesn't Link have sprint boots? He had them in Link to the Past. Why can't he upgrade his sprint boots to do a double jump or to jump in the air and then dash? And then you could easily like make tons of puzzles around that instead of you're looking at a ledge and it's like I should be able to just climb this ledge, but there's a puzzle like I have to light 2 lanterns so that another little step appears and then I can climb on that and climb on that. It's like, why can't I just?
I think the answer is because Nintendo. That's the only answer you got. Yeah.
So I think I played it for 45 hours, so that says something about it.
Yeah, it's going to count for something, right? Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, it's okay. It's an okay game, I think. But yeah, that's it.
I think it's one of those games that could have been great, and that's why it's so upsetting. Is because it's not.
Yeah, and I think that's why even last week as well I was a bit pissed about it. But yeah, you can see the quality is there, but there's just a couple mechanics and design elements, and it's like it's holding this game back. Like a Zelda game doesn't need to be 45 hours long. And one other thing is like in this game you need 5 heart pieces to get a heart, whereas in every other Zelda game it's 4. So they're giving you 20 extra chests and hidden areas, there doesn't need to be those extra 20 chests, right? That could be potential another 3 hours tacked onto the game to find that stuff. It's like you just trim some of that stuff down.
Yeah, it's like filler, right? It's just not needed.
How about you, Vin? What have you been playing?
To be honest, I'm still playing Destiny, like off the back of the Division, because I played the Division and then I hit the end game content, which is all multiplayer only, pretty much.
Yeah.
So then I dived into Destiny, and I've been playing that for the last couple of weeks now. Actually, like I'm really enjoying it. Like I hit max level. There's a load of strikes and raids to do. So yeah, like I'm still only surface level into it. Like there's still a lot to do. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. I know it's a lot of people like up and left when the Division came out. Apparently, like the servers just emptied out, but there's still enough people there to have fun with. It's just I'm still the lowest level. I'm still like the lowest light level now. So just trying to find loot to find more loot, which is ridiculous, but I know what it is. So it's all
well,
good.
you ever want to play, man? Hit me up.
We should probably move on to our next section of the podcast, which is, of course, the Small Three. And in the Small Three, we each pick a subject to talk about. That can be anything in the games industry, a game that we're excited about, a game that we hate. It can be absolutely anything. And in traditional sense, we're going to start off with our guest, which is Brent this week. Do you want to introduce what your topic is for the Small Three?
Yeah, so this week was supposed to be the release of the Oculus Rift, and well, I guess it was the release of the Oculus Rift, and then the Vive is coming out next week-ish or so. And I had pre-ordered like I sat there on the website refreshing when it became live, and I did it as soon as possible. And so I've been an early backer of Oculus. I actually bought one of the dev kits forever ago because I was so excited about VR. And then this week I canceled my pre-order.
You canceled it?
I did. It was supposed to be shipped Wednesday, and by Friday we still had not heard anything. As of today, their only information is that there will be more updates on April 12th. Like, that's like 2 weeks from now, man.
Wait, so they're going to update you on April 12th, so they don't even know.
They're not going to ship it on the 12th. They're going to tell me something on the 12th.
So that's they're going to say something to you.
Yeah. Next update on the 18th. It's like,
yeah. See you next month.
And I don't want to take that against the hardware and the games and stuff like that, but it really just kind of made me reevaluate the whole situation. And I got really worried that I would play this like nonstop for a weekend and then never use it again. And
I think that's my main concern at the minute as well. Like, I don't want to buy one of these things, get home, like have fun in a few tech demos, and be like, all right, I don't think I can play that all day, every day.
That seems to see what a lot of people have been saying about those games. Like they're fun for this kind of 5-minute. It's like the first time you did Wii bowling, right?
Yeah, that is my concern. Like, I don't want VR to be like the next Wii, Like, when we look back on the Wii now, and the only time that's ever pulled out of, like, most of, like, gamers' closets or whatever is, like, at Christmas, like, the family are over, like, oh, let's play Wii bowling while we're all drunk or whatever. It's like, I'm really worried that the same thing's going to happen to VR. It's like, Christmas is about, put the headset on grandma and, like, watch her flail around. It'll be awesome. I don't really want to, like, have that happen to VR, like, because it seems like a really exciting platform. But, yeah.
I mean, I think you could do it. I think, like, Eve Valkyrie is really interesting to me. TIE Fighter is one of my favorite games of all time. And the idea of like playing that in VR is super intoxicating.
It's that whole like seeing Eve Valkyrie looks amazing, like in VR. Like I can't even imagine what that would be like, seeing all the ships around you just like exploding. Like it looks amazing.
But I think the game's pretty short, and it's like, what if that tied into actual Eve? What if you could be one of those ships that flies out of a carrier and be in one of those huge battles? Like how cool would that be? And then it would give me something to do, after the 10-hour game of whatever this is. I don't want to pay $600 for a 10-hour game,
or just $600 for just one game and then a handful of tech demos, right?
That's probably why I've got a bit more confidence in PlayStation VR, because I know the nature of it. I don't think they can have as many like tech demo sort of little games like that. I think they're probably going to be pushing a lot more sort of like bigger quote-unquote AAA games. I'm kind of worried that Oculus is going to be filled with a lot of green-lit sort of smaller experiences. But yeah, what's your experience actually been with VR, Brent? Like, are you actually enjoying it from the dev kit and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I'm a true believer. I think VR is it probably already is amazing. I just I can't financially make that leap and not feel guilty about it every day. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. The minute I canceled it, I put in a pre-order for Vive, which is supposed to come in May. And it's pretty easy to cancel a pre-order, so I can still renege on that. But if I'm gonna do something like that, I might as well do the one that has access to all the VR experiences.
True.
Sure.
And I think that might be one of the best things about PlayStation VR is that when it comes out in October, there might actually be real games that came out on Vive and Oculus that can get ported to it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like the mistakes that Vive and Oculus make, to see if PlayStation are sort of listening to all that sort of stuff, and that might be why they're waiting a bit longer, or if it's just a genuine sort of delay. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see, like 6 months down the line after all these things come out, like what people are actually going to stand back and say which is the best experience, what's got the best games on it. Because right now we've got no idea, right? Like one of them could just totally bomb for all we know. Like Oculus could be dead in the water, and PlayStation might be the best thing ever. Like, we just don't know. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting time.
Yeah, and it's just with this, it's just a combination of like it's brand new tech and it's like a launch, like a console launch lineup, right? Which is never that good usually. So not only is it like the launch of a new console basically with kind of lackluster games, it's that and new tech, and putting that together, it's like you can't really look at what VR is now. Like I think most people that probably bought it, like yeah, they're in for like the kind of this new fresh experience, but they're not looking at what VR is now. They're looking at what it's going to become.
Well, and I think there's a lot of arguments you could make that like a Rift or a Vive is more of an equivalent of a monitor than buying a computer, because you can always upgrade your computer and play the cooler stuff that comes later. You're still going to be in VR. So it might be a little bit more future-proof than your standard kind of console. Like maybe the Oculus Rift 2 or whatever that comes out next year or the year after, it might be lighter or be wireless or whatever, but you'll still be able to play those games with the one.
Right.
Theoretically.
Sure. That's the best sort of example you can give as well. I mean, I've been saying this so long, where people should look at VR as you would buy a new TV or new technology comes out for a TV. It's like a lot of people at the beginning were saying, oh, VR is so expensive. I mean, I can't believe it's like $800 for a Vive and stuff. I'm like, dude, have you bought a TV recently? Like if I bought like 100 like inch TV or whatever, like being ridiculous, like how much would that cost you? Like at the new fidelity, like with all this crazy like tech that's going into the VR headsets, $800, it's really cheap, like really, really cheap. So yeah, I mean, it's a good comparison to always compare it to TVs rather than like a console itself. But I think Evan's right in that respect as well. Like it is definitely a new format, and I think that's it's already going against the grain when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, I think what scares me the most is I am super gung-ho on VR. Like I owned a Virtual Boy, man. Like I'm way into this. Man. I have a good job. I can pay for it. And I'm still not doing it? Like, who is? And I'm worried it's going to
That does say something about it, yeah.
So, yeah, like, what specifically made you cancel your pre-order then? Was it just the fact that Oculus is, like, stumbling a little bit on the release, or
just
something to do with the tech itself?
All the issues, and then, like, reviews are coming out, and they're fine. Yeah, I think it's what everyone thought it was going to be. But just all that at once kind of pierced the veil, and I just kind of reevaluated it, saying like, Jesus, am I going to pay $600 for like a cool weekend and that's it?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it takes a lot to be able to just step back from all the hype, like, because it is exciting. It's very exciting. But ultimately, I think making that decision of like, am I only going to get a weekend out of it? It's probably a good one to wait a little bit, maybe. But the Vive is apparently a completely different experience.
I want to believe. Yeah, and I think the Vive, I think Valve is much more likely to continue supporting the Vive, even if Vive doesn't sell that well, than the PlayStation VR or Facebook, I guess. Although Facebook may put out like, I don't know, VR Social Center or whatever for it that makes it some completely other kind of device.
Yeah, and I heard the kind of social functions like aren't even there right now. Like that was I think PC Gamer or something in their review of the Oculus Rift. They said like that stuff's not there. Like you know you got to like take the headset off so you can text your friends to like. It's like not like none of that stuff is in game, and then someone on the forum said like yeah it's a or in the comment section it's like it's kind of ironic that like this Facebook owned thing has like terrible social features or like not present yet.
Right.
But yeah, I think that sort of stuff will definitely get worked out as the format gets older. You know, like in 3 years' time, almost all the problems that we're having with VR right now are probably going to be gone. You know, so it's really early days for me anyway, personally. But I am a believer in VR. I do think it's going to be a thing. But like, how about you, Evan? Have you got faith in VR yet from what you've seen, or are you still a bit worried about it?
Well, I've never even experienced it. All I hear is once you put it on, you know, you get like the VR smile, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's here to stay. Personally, if it's going to be something that I'm going to buy a PlayStation VR or get into it and support it, I don't know yet. I would think so eventually, but at this point, I don't know. I think it'll be, I think it's here to stay, but
I think it still needs the killer.
Personally, I'll have to wait and see.
It still needs a killer app. It needs something like a VR GTA 5 or some shit, like something that you could just play a ton of.
Dude, it would blow my mind. I mean, absolutely blow my mind if Sony don't walk out on stage and say No Man's Sky VR is coming to PlayStation 4. If they don't do that, I just don't know what they're doing.
Have they not said that? I would not use me as an official source, but I thought it was coming to VR.
It may be announced in
know.
VR. That's what we can say.
Okay.
But yeah, if Sony don't like make a huge push with that, then that would blow my mind, because that could be it. You know, that could be the big.
That could be it. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect for it. I mean, most of the time you're sat in a cockpit, like flying around from star to star or whatever. Like it's perfect. Like I just don't.
There's already so many unknowns about that game, though. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. That's the thing. Like, No Man's Sky is not a game for me. Like, whenever I look at it, I'm like, it's not really my thing. I mean, it just looks incredibly boring to me right now. Until I see more stuff. Like, there's a lot of information out there as well to see what you can actually do in the game, but I haven't really fully looked into it yet. But it's not really a game for me. But I understand like how much the community and like the whole games industry is basically anticipating this title, just to see what it can do, because it's pushing.
Very excited about it.
Yeah, but like me personally, I'm not really that excited about it. Like, how about you, Evan? Are you interested in that sort of stuff, or
No Man's Sky?
Yeah,
I'm not like Matt level of, because I think that's like his most anticipated game, right?
Yeah, it's like Matt was born and he's been waiting for that game ever since, right?
Right, and I've heard other people say similar things. Yeah. I think it looks beautiful, right? I love the colors and the overall aesthetic design of it, but I still like don't know what you do in that game.
Yeah,
or like. If that's the game, if that's what it's going to be, I don't know if that's enough for me. Right. And I think actually Tomb Raiders, I think we asked this question when he was on. We asked him, is like, if No Man's Sky is what it looks like it is at this point, is that enough for you? And he said, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Personally, for me, it's not. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Vin. I need to see.
Yeah, I just don't know what you do in that game. It's like, okay, like you're trying to get to the center of the galaxy. It's like, why? Why am I trying to get to the center?
Yeah, they've been really coy about that, and I don't know if that's because there's some sort of story or it's just really vague. They're like, oh, it's the center. You win.
Yeah, there's like 10 people in the world that knows what's in the center so far.
Yeah, I wonder how difficult that game is going to be.
Yeah, speaking of difficulty.
Sorry.
Terrible segues. Cool. So we're going to move on to our next topic, which is yours, Evan. Do you want to introduce what you want to talk about in these small three?
Yeah. So mine's pretty simple. I just want to talk about difficulty in video games. So I don't really want to talk about the whole Star Fox deal that happened, where they're going to do an easy mode and people went nuts about it.
Yeah, I don't get that. Just don't play that mode.
Yeah.
You could
Well,
Yeah,
I guess
people
we.
threw a fit with Mass Effect as well. I think that was the first one that had the like story mode.
Oh,
right.
really?
I think in Mass Effect 3, it had like, you walk through all the encounters, but you get to experience the story. And then Dragon Age had the same thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I was thinking a bit about that, and then I just got done playing Twilight Princess, and that was a pretty. Zelda games aren't really difficult, right? It's just
Right.
it's about like figuring out the puzzles and stuff, and
Yeah, it's more of a
so
mental process rather than a skill set thing, right?
right, yeah. So well, first I just wanted to say like, how do you guys usually play games? Like personally for me, I play almost every game. If there's a difficulty setting, I always play almost every game on hard to start out with, like the Uncharted games, Last of Us, Spec Ops: The Line. All those games I always play on hard, except for survival horror games, because I do
Right.
not want to manage like med kits and stuff like that. Like way later in the game, like Dead Space, I play on
Yeah.
normal. I don't want to deal with that kind of management stuff. It gets a bit difficult. So like, so Brent, like, how do you usually play games, difficulty setting wise?
Easy mode, man.
Easy?
Very easy. I,
Is that a time thing?
I mean, I think that's a cop out for me anyway. I'm sure it's not for some people, but I think most of the time I just want to experience the game, unless the game is about the difficulty, like a Bloodborne or Spelunky or something. Like it's almost directly related to how much I think the gameplay is what you're playing the game for.
Okay.
If making the game harder makes the game better, then sure. But most of the time that's not the case. It's just people turn into bullet sponges. And that really pisses me off. Like, I don't like that disconnect. It's funny. It didn't bother me in The Division, but I hate if you shoot somebody in the head and they don't die from it.
That
And
does that does happen in Uncharted. If
yeah,
on the
and
higher
it's like
difficulty
it
settings.
doesn't happen on easy. You shoot them in the head, they're dead,
Right.
as they should be. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I like winning.
Sure. Yeah, winning is very fun.
That is good of a reason as any.
I mean, I say that, but like Spelunky is still one of my favorite games of all time. So I don't know, man. Clearly, I get enjoyment out of hard games, but I always choose easy.
Okay. And well, Vin, how about you?
For me, it really depends on the game and how they make it difficult, I think. I mean, it's like Brent was saying, like, if you just start making everyone a bullet sponge, then, yeah, it gets kind of annoying. But, like, if I play a Call of Duty game, I usually play that in the hardest difficulty right off the bat, because the way they balance that, they make it so their damage is higher rather than their health is better, you know?
Yeah.
It's more about, like, how you flank around and dodge and stuff. So, like, for that sort of game, like, I dive right into hard mode for those. But for games like the examples which you give, like Uncharted and The Last of Us and stuff, I tend to play them in normal first time around.
Okay.
Because I just want to, because them games are like a spectacle, you know, like you want to be able to just like stop and like look around and watch the action as it's coming at you rather than constantly being in fear of like, oh crap, I'm probably about to die, which is probably obviously the point to most video games, right? Like they want that sort of worry in your heart so you can act upon it, so it makes it a bit more realistic. But yeah, it really depends on the game. So for first person shooters, traditionally I normally go hard mode right away, but action adventure games I'll leave on normal, you know.
Sure. All right. Actually, yeah, Brent, I was a bit surprised because I did watch your your hell knife run
Yeah.
on YouTube of Spelunky, and I couldn't believe it because I am absolutely terrible at Spelunky. Like here I am playing these games on hard difficulty settings, but then you have these games that are just they have one difficulty setting and it's hard. You know, like Super Meat Boy, the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne, Spelunky, and so I was a bit surprised that you usually play games on easy, but you do like a challenge, so you do have that balance there. Like,
well, I might not be, I might not be voting in my best interest. I might enjoy those games better at hard, but that's not what I do.
like, so you, like, have you played like any of the Dark Souls games or Super Meat Boy, Hotline Miami?
I really like Super Meat Boy and Hotline Miami. I haven't gotten into the Dark Souls or Bloodborns yet. I played Bloodborne for a while, but I just really didn't like. I didn't like how unresponsive it was.
Yeah, I hit boss 2, and I was just like, oh, I can't push through this anymore. Like I'm trying, but it feels like those games are sort of difficult on purpose rather than you should be good enough to play them.
Sorry, we talked about Hyper Light Drifter a little bit, and a lot of people have compared that to Dark Souls. But the difference to me of why I like Hyper Light Drifter and I don't like Dark Souls is that it's super responsive. Like, you hit your button, your sword is out and already slashed through the person. Like, I feel much more in control of my character. Whereas in Dark Souls, it's almost like you're one of these enemies. You have to telegraph your attack before you do it.
Yeah. There's something to be said for that. Like, if you're fighting against the game, then it's always going to be harder. So,
and I guess if you got used to it, maybe you'd be fine. I mean, certainly plenty of people love those games. It's just I haven't been able to do so.
And yeah, there is something to be said about like the nuance of difficulty in a game and how little things can completely change a game from challenging into frustrating. Like, it's a really fine line, and I think a lot of that stuff, these games that don't have a difficulty setting, it comes down to just like good game design, like you're saying with Hyper Light Drifter, where you're not fighting the game, you're playing it, and they're giving you enough to make you get good at the game, or like the telegraphing thing, all those types of things. It's like, if those things are in place and they're done well, it can turn a frustrating experience into just a fun, challenging one. So like, first of all, I'll just say, like, I mostly play games on hard, but I don't care if there's an easy difficulty setting. That type of thing doesn't bother me. And everyone was up in arms about this Star Fox thing. Like, do you think that every or most game like should have a range of difficulty settings? Like, what about Dark Souls or Bloodborne? Do you think that they would gain something from that? Brent?
Gain something by having an easy difficulty? Probably not. I mean, it rose to its prominence because it was punishing, and people persevered anyway. If they could have just turned the difficulty down and just played the game, like, I think it's not as good a game when you're playing it like that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's more about like a self-achievement thing rather than the game is actually that good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was designed to be that difficulty too. Kind of what you'd said about, I think I've heard before that Call of Duty is designed at hard mode and then they just scale stuff back for normal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, stuff like that. So it kind of makes you wonder. And that's why I kind of like games that just have one difficulty, because that's what they play tested. I know that's going to work out.
Yeah, and if the game's good and the overall design is good, it should be enough, right?
Right. And ideally, all the difficulties would be good, and they would be difficult in the right way, where it's, if you fail, it's your fault. It's not the game just being a dick.
Right. And all the reviewers for all those kinds of games, they always write that, right? Like Super Meat Boy, it's your fault, or Hotline Miami. There's a bit of kind of randomness to that game, but it's your fault,
Yeah, Hotline Miami 1, I think, was really well designed in that its loops are pretty small, so you could master them relatively quickly because you're only going over like a 15-second burst. Hotline Miami 2, those loops got a lot longer. And
yeah, I haven't.
So like you do the
first
20 seconds of it, and then like you master that, and then just some bullshit comes out and kills you
from off
screen. You start back at the beginning. Yeah,
See, yeah, and that's I think that's something we're talking about. Like, I think a lot of people with Hotline Miami 2 complained, and then so you take this game that it was like, I keep saying Super Meat Boy, but right when you died, you started immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they took this great design. It's like they pushed you forward. They made you want to keep playing it, and then they changed it in Hotline Miami 2, and it turned a fun challenge into an overall frustrating game, I think.
Right, and I mean, and it's even worse than that, because in Hotline Miami 1, like, if you screwed up, like, whatever, you lose 10 seconds worth of gameplay. Right. So I was much more likely to try to do cool stuff, like throw my gun at some guy's face and take his gun and shoot the other guy. And like, I think I can do this that way, so I'm going to do that. Whereas in 2, it's like, oh my god, I'm just gonna stand back here and shoot bullets over there because I'll probably hit these guys that are off screen because I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, that is a good point.
That's what scares me about hard difficulties.
A lot of Hotline Miami's sort of praise that it gets, I think a lot of it is to do with like loading times as well. I mean, if you get killed in a Hotline Miami game and it's just instant, you're right back at the start again. It's like, oh, okay, I just died. Like, and you can just repeat and repeat and repeat. So there's like minimal frustration. Like if you're playing a game and you die and you're just looking at this loading screen, like it just makes you angrier. The frustration boils up a bit more. But I think a lot of Hotline Miami's success comes from that fact alone as well.
Some games have a range of difficulty. Some have one, but if you just do it right, which isn't always easy, if you do it right, then that's probably like that sweet spot is the best thing you can aim for. Like, what about like some people play easy, some people play hard. And then you have games that just have one difficulty. Is there any, like, I don't know, I was just trying to think of like any other solution to kind of bring people into a game that might not want to play it because of its difficulty setting? Like, is there any other solution to including other people other than just a difficulty setting?
I think that's what the story mode stuff that EA did was all about. Was, people had heard about Mass Effect and stuff, but they were like, maybe your wife or someone would be interested in a sci-fi story, but they don't know how to play a shooter, or they don't want to deal with inventory management or whatever. They just want to kind of waltz through that stuff and experience the story. And I think that's absolutely a good way to expand the reach of your game. If the game's main point is about that story and stuff.
Right.
But if you're Spelunky and you like skip the gameplay, you're not left with a whole lot more than a dude just picking up gold.
I wouldn't mind playing that game. I could actually probably beat it. But no, that's a good point.
And then, though, you're right that some people just, I'm not trying to single you out as being incapable of it, but there are good game players and bad game players. You just might not be able to play a game, and so you're stuck.
Like you're not singling me out.
Yeah, like the original
currently
Ninja Gaiden,
incapable.
like Jesus Christ, you die and go back like 4 levels. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, the end of that game is rough. Same as Castlevania 3. I've never beaten it because you got to do that
until it was emulated and you could not have to deal with going back so far. But
right,
that definitely was a barrier to entry. If you heard a game was super hard, it was like, well, am I going to spend the $60 I have this month, because I'm 12 or whatever, on a game I can't beat? No.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even know why I play games on hard, because I'm one of those people that get really, really frustrated at stuff. Like my PlayStation 3 controller, like, has some problems with it because I've gotten so frustrated at games. Like I'm holding the control and I try to twist it. And I've done that so hard before. I've like snapped some of the casing. Before. Yeah.
It's a bad habit, but yeah, I know what you mean.
But actually, going back to
this doesn't happen on very easy. All my controllers are fine.
Point proven. But actually, going back to what Brent said, and I just thought of this now, is I think some of the re-releases of the iOS Final Fantasy games on iOS, like you can just skip the battles.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you don't get the XP for it or anything, but I guess you could skip every battle.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they scale that stuff.
I think you can skip random battles. You can't skip like bosses and stuff.
Okay, so they must like level you up to kind of meet the boss at like a decent level. But I think you're right. Those games are about the story. Some people love the battles or the fighting in the games, but if you're there for the story, you can actually choose. If you don't, if you want to play the game how it was originally designed, then you have that choice as well. So I think that's a good way to include more people.
Yeah, like I really liked what they did with Final Fantasy 9, where it just gave people the option to, like, you can beef yourself up, or you can just play it for the story or whatever, or just play it like how you used to. Like it's all up to you. Like I don't know. Like, it doesn't hurt it. Like, if you put that stuff in, like, as long as people have got that option or whatever. But at the same time, it's sort of, yeah, I think Brent's right. Like, a lot of games are designed to be difficult because that's how they were designed. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, difficulty is an interesting one. It'll forever change, I think, like, throughout the industry as well. I mean, it's something that designers are just constantly battling with. I mean, that's their main job. Like, how difficult is this game?
Was Brent, was that iPad game you're making? Is it difficult?
It was a strategy game, so it was
okay.
Puzzly of a nature. So yeah, I don't know. The couple playtesters I had didn't figure it out.
you need to throw a difficulty setting in there, then.
How do you difficulty setting puzzles though, man? Like,
well, they did it in the Silent Hill games, like
pointing at stuff.
They had levels of difficulty in the puzzles in the Silent Hill game. Like, if you played that game on hard, like one of the puzzles in, I think it's 3, was like it's notorious for being like practically unsolvable. It was so difficult. But then on easy, it's like, what's 1 + 2, basically.
Kind of like the water temple in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
I think I was a better gamer when I was younger. I was at a sleepover, and I stayed up all night. I don't know how old I was, like 10 or 12. I stayed up all night figuring that out. That was before, like, it wasn't on the internet, had no one to help me, maybe the Nintendo hotline. But I sat up all night and I figured it out. But me now, I don't think I'd do it. I would have given up and like watched a YouTube video.
It's a different world that we live in now that we've got the internet.
Yeah.
Oh well, okay. Let's move on. We're going to move on to the third topic, which is mine. And as we were speaking about Final Fantasy a few minutes ago, I actually wanted to go over the whole Platinum demo, which Square released with their recent announcement of the release date for Final Fantasy 15. And I don't know are you a fan of Final Fantasy, Brent?
The ones I'm not supposed to be a fan of, like 7 and 10, are the ones I like.
Right.
Instead of 6, which is supposed to be my favorite if I'm a true gamer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think 7 and 10 are good games. I mean, like, voiceover and Titus aside, I really like the battle system. That game is great, and I think the overall story is very interesting.
I think it was on the 30th of March. Square Enix had their massive announcement for the release date for Final Fantasy 15, and in that event, they announced a series of things as well, which included an anime, a movie, and the announcement that they were releasing a demo of the game that night. And this is the first public demo of the game. Like, the previous demos for Disgaea and Disgaea 2 were both paid, basically. You had to buy Type 0 or pre-order or something like that. So this is the first public demo, and I went and downloaded it right away. I thought, yeah, this is going to be great. I can finally get to play the game because I haven't touched it. And I have to say, I wasn't very impressed by it whatsoever. It's really starting to concern me.
Yeah, I've heard things floating around in the last couple of days. You gotta give us the rundown.
Yeah, well, like, the actual demo itself is not really a demo of the game. It's more like a playable tech demo, which is really weird. Like, they put you through 3 different locations, and in these locations, there's pressure pads pretty much all over the place. And these pressure pads, when you stand on them, change the weather effect. They change. They can turn you into like one of the random wild animals that are in the game, and you can control them and swing your head and attack with them. What else can they do? They change time of day as well. It's just like all these weird things, and it's like, okay, that stuff is cool. Although it probably would have been cool maybe last gen in like 2010 or something. But now, like, we see games with day and night cycles all the time. We see games with weather changes all the time. Like, everything that was in the Final Fantasy 15 tech demo, like, I'm going to call that from now on the Platinum demo. Basically, Metal Gear Solid 5 had all of that stuff and better. It's just the whole engine itself is just really not that impressive either. Like, the way it looks. Like, the graphics wise on it, I think it looks 720. Like, there's a few people on Sifted that have said, oh, it's 900p, it's not 720. But it looks like 720 upscaled to 900. Like, it looks really bad. Like, there's a lot of jaggies on it and stuff. And on top of that, the whole thing runs at a terrible, terrible frame rate, and it's barely peaking 25 frames per second. And normally, like I'm not a PC guy. Like I'm not into like it has to be 60 frames at 1080 or whatever like that. I'm not bothered about this stuff. If I've got a solid 30, then I'm a happy guy, you know. But
That's actually funny. Just kind of a side thing. I was watching the Unprofessional Fridays. The Giant Bomb guys, and Brad was playing the Doom beta multiplayer.
Okay.
And then after that, they went into playing the platinum demo, and then once they did that, they're like, I mean, that game was like 60 frames per second, and they start spinning the camera around, and just it was so jarring from Doom to
see it, right?
They were like, oh my god, Jesus.
So they were also talking about it like negatively, or
yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but just immediately, I think they weren't like trashing it, but they're kind of scratching their heads, like what, like why did they release this? If this was the first thing I saw, and I knew nothing else about Final Fantasy, like no, thank you.
Yeah, it's basically that's the main thing which has confused me more than anything else, is that this is their message, you know, this is their flagship message for this game. It's like, okay, if you play this, then you get what Final Fantasy 15 is, right? And it just completely turns you off. Like I went into that demo excited about 15. I came out of it thinking I'm probably going to wait for reviews on Final Fantasy 15 now.
What the goal of the demo was the exact for you is like the exact opposite outcome.
Yeah, the exact opposite. Like I'm really like after playing that demo, I was kind of like, I don't actually know if this is going to be good. Like they've been working on this game for 12 years, and that's the best that they can do. It just worries
me. Do they see it? Because they're really doubling down on 15, man. They're doing this, all this other stuff too, like to really build out this world. And it's like, it doesn't matter if your game sucks.
Yeah, it's like the whole massive event. When I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is serious. You know, they're really building this thing up to be huge. It must be really good. And they're like, yeah, go and play the demo. It's amazing and stuff. And I played the demo, and I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, this isn't. It just doesn't match. You know, it doesn't match the grandeur of that event that they had. And it's the same for the anime.
Have you watched the gameplay and stuff from the game? Like, is it just different? Or is actually playing it just not good?
The weird thing about the demo more than anything else is the fact that you actually play as like the child version of the main character in the game. And
this isn't going to be in the game, right?
No. This is all like specifically made just for this demo.
Okay, all separate. Okay.
Yeah, but the main character, Noctis, like you play as like a child version of himself, but the child version is way under refined compared to the adult version of Noctis. And like towards the end of the demo, you actually switch over and you're the adult version of Noctis. But as the child, like his mechanics are so broken, like it's really unsettling. Like why they decided this is going to be the first character you're going to control, like as this demo is the free sort of flagship for it. It's just really confusing. But like when you play as the adult version of him, like he feels fine. Like it's like, okay, he's quite responsive. There's a couple of issues there, but you know they'll probably figure that out in the next 6 months.
I don't understand.
It's just awful.
Like what? Like why did they frame it that way? Like why even bother?
Right.
Framing it in this weird like child Noctis in this weird dream. Like someone thought of that, right, and put that together, and then a bunch of people looked at it and said, "This is what we're going to show the world that this engine can do." Right? Yeah. And then a bunch of people stamped the papers and shipped it out. Like those are all bad decisions.
Yeah. It's
that's
like
concerning.
I'll give you an example of the kid. Like if you're running and you hold down the sprint button, like his animation changes, but he doesn't actually run any faster. So it's like, what? Okay,
that's rough.
Yeah, whatever. And then if you're running and then you jump, like normally in video games and in real life, like you've got the momentum from that jump to go forward. But the kid, like he jumps, he does like half of the jump and then he'll just drop vertically down, even if you've got momentum of the run. And it just feels bad, you know. It just like your brain automatically knows that's wrong, and it's crazy. Like 12 years of development, and this is the best you can do. It's just really unsettling to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just look at this like, hey guys, 12 years. This is what you get.
Jesus, I mean, And like you see it as well, you see that this game has been in development for 12 years. Like in the demo itself, you see like the PS3 up-resed models everywhere. I mean, the environments just look like a PS3 game sometimes, like the buildings and stuff. It's like that doesn't look current gen whatsoever. And like normally, I don't care about graphics, but if I had 12 years to make a video game with a team of like 300 people, man, my game would look awesome. You know?
Well, that's the thing with a game that takes that long to develop. I mean, the engine's from what, 2008. Like,
yeah. Well, they've changed the engine once already. They changed. I can't remember. I think it was like called the Crystal Tools originally. And that was their first engine. That turned out to be terrible, so they switched it to the Luminos engine. I think it's called now. On top of that, the game has been through 2 different directors. It's been through like 5 different platforms altogether, like including Xbox, PS3, PS4. Like it's an astronomical amount of stuff, and it just feels like they're remaking it over and over again.
Yeah,
it's like they just really need to get the game out now.
Yeah, and it seems like just leading up to the release of this game, you're thinking like 12 years, like all these changes, all these problems, these switches, they're getting it back on track, right? They released the 2 demos last year, and then they have this big event. It's like, all right, let's see what this game's all about. And then they release this.
Yeah, it's just really unsettling.
I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. They must have thought it was good enough to put out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff is coming through as well. I mean, I watched the first episode of the anime that's like come alongside it, and it's like a 5-part anime, and each episode is like 10 minutes long or something. But the anime is absolutely horrendous. Like, it's one of the worst animes. Yeah, it's awful. Like, a lot of people are complaining about it, just like, what is this? Like, you're using this to market your game? This is crazy. But it just feels like Square's like whole message of Final Fantasy 15 is sort of mixed at this point, and I'm like, I don't know how much of that engine they're going to be able to fix in probably 4 months. It's coming out in 6 months. A lot of people are saying that, but they're probably going to go gold in about 4. So in 4 months' time, I don't know how much of that engine they're going to have it up to scratch. Like, I really hope it's at least at 30 frames locked. Like, I don't care about even the resolution. Like, if it can play like it's not a slideshow, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They released an undercooked demo. They could definitely potentially release an undercooked game, right?
No,
did you guys like 13?
No, I didn't.
I hate that game. Like,
well, I mean, Square must have thought it was good because they made a sequel.
They made 2 more.
Oh, that's right.
I think
2 sequels.
I think the main reason behind that, though, is just because they're just trying to recuperate money from the losses, maybe.
Maybe.
It's just cheaper to make a sequel than it is to make a whole new game. It's like, that's why there's so many Assassin's Creed games, because they just reuse so much code.
Right.
Like, half that game is done before it's even started,
And 15 was originally within their whole plan for 13. So they must have really liked 13, or they thought it was going to be this amazing game. They thought it was going
to be the next Final Fantasy 7. That's what they kept saying. Like, I remember like a few interviews saying, we want this one to be as big as Final Fantasy 7. The complete opposite, man. It's
a joke. That story doesn't make any sense.
An awful game.
I remember someone told me, like, it really starts to get good around hour 20. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I haven't got playing a game for 20 hours, so let it go.
And you know what? It doesn't get good around hour 20. Like, I was like that. As ridiculous as that argument was, I was on board for that because that's how much I like Final Fantasy. Like, I've beaten every Final Fantasy game, like all the main ones, and not the MMOs. I've beaten them all.
That's a life achievement, man. They should give you like a badge you can wear around.
Yeah. You
don't sound that proud of it.
Well, I haven't beaten. Yeah. Oh, I've even beaten Mystic Quest for the Super Nintendo, which is a horrible game.
Oh Jesus, you should get a medal in. Christ, that game was awful.
Yeah, but I don't even know where I was going with this. I don't even remember what I was talking about.
Sorry.
Final Fantasy 13.
So because I like the series so much, like someone saying it gets good 20 hours in was enough for me to play for 20 hours, and then
persevere.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't get good. It's just bad the whole time. And then 13.2 is also bad the whole time. And I had such a bad experience with those 2 games that I didn't get Final Fantasy. Was it Lightning Returns? I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy 13 was the only Final Fantasy that I have not finished. It's the only one. Like, I got 75% into it, and I was like, I am still doing the same thing, like, over and over again. This is just boring. Like, I've never... Like, the game looks beautiful as well, but it's just boring. Like, the whole game is designed in, like, corridors. Like, there's no properly open areas or anything. It's just going through corridors, getting to the end of the corridor, and then cutscene time. You know, it's just the same thing over and over again. I just couldn't do it anymore. Like, I just couldn't get through it. But I think that's my main point, though. Like, I'm really worried that Final Fantasy 15 is gonna have them same problems. You know, like, it's overcooked sort of thing. I think they've been thinking about this thing for a bit too long. I mean, if you work on a story for 12 years and it's been through that many different people, then that can't be healthy. That can't be good.
Right. Like, Brent, have you ever worked on a project for a really long time and felt like you're too close to it? Like, you need, I suppose, I mean, with any job, you need some sort of outside perspective, but have you worked on something that you thought was good, but you were so close to it and someone had said, like, it's terrible?
I've never had someone tell me that, but I have realized it myself later.
Oh, okay.
Or you'll get into, I do a lot of client work. You'll get into a position where at the beginning of the project, you believe in something, and then, because you believe the pitch, and then, like, it just turns out to be not what you thought it was going to be, and you're like, shit. And, like, it's hard because you have to make that transition from caring about it to, like, Jesus Christ, let's just finish this job. And I worry that somewhere along the line, Square did that. Like, let's just put this game out.
Yeah.
I think with Square, like, it worries me more because there's just so many people working on it. It's not like this is why I'm not worried about The Last Guardian. Like, I think The Last Guardian is going to be fine because that team is really small, so they've got a focused vision sort of thing. But with Final Fantasy, that Division 1 Final Fantasy, you've got like 300 people working there just every single day, just churning that stuff out. And it's like, for 12 years, like, they've got to be banging heads every single day, you know?
That just makes me worry that it's going to be like 100-hour game and it's going to be really obtuse.
Yeah. I hope it's not that long. I can't do that. I can't do that anymore. I can't play a game for that long.
That's why I've never started The Witcher yet. You know, I still haven't started The Witcher 3 because everyone's just like, yeah, I'm like 100 hours in. I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I mean, Fallout 4 has taken up most of my time for this year already, you know?
Yeah, I played Persona 4 for 100 hours, and that's about as far as I'll go for a JRPG.
But yeah, for you, Evan, like, what would you, like, for Final Fantasy 15, what would you want to see Square do, like, to sort of settle your mind for the game?
To make me feel better about it, or
like Square's overall message about it. Like, what would you want them to actually present you with to have your faith or confidence back into Final Fantasy 15?
Well, I didn't even play the demos from last year. Did you play those demos, Vin?
I did not.
So I don't know how those games play.
Right.
I want the game to be fun. All in all, I want to have a good gameplay, and I'm interested in how the fighting system. Like, if I play this game and this new fighting system is fun, and I'm having a good time with it, that would kind of restore some confidence. I have yet to play it, so I think that would be the main thing for me. I'm just interested in how they're gonna figure that section of it out. So at the end of the demo, when you finally get to control adult Noctis, how was that last fight against the Iron Giant? Like, how did it feel?
It's pretty good. I mean, it's not nowhere as bad as, like, the kid fighting, but like I said, it's still got some of its issues. Like, there's like this thing called a warp strike where you can attach to the side of a building, then you can aim back down at the enemy, and you can, like, teleport to him and give him a hit sort of thing. But there's just weird mechanics, like when you attach yourself to the building, you teleport there. Like, the camera's facing the building, so you have to physically, like, manually turn the camera around to look at it. Okay, then do it again.
I don't like that already.
Yeah, it's jarring as hell. It's like, why wouldn't he just, like, automatically be facing outwards or whatever? Like, it's just this constant trying to, like, you're fighting with the camera a lot of the time. So I hope they work on that a little bit. But, other than that, it feels all right. I mean, there's a lot of sort of, like, clipping errors and stuff. Like, the splash damage from certain enemies like that shouldn't hit you actually do hit you, and strange things like that.
Yeah, I'll at some point I do want to play the Duskade demos to get a feel for it myself. I'm just disappointed hearing about this demo, because I am excited for 15. I want to get back into the series after I lost touch with it after 13.
It's just really out of place. The whole platinum demo thing. It was just didn't feel right whatsoever. I hope they fix a lot of that stuff, like not just outside of the resolution issues or the frame rate or whatever. But I want it to be a good game. I really do. Like, I was excited for it. I'm not so much excited for it now, and I hope they rectify it and actually sort it out. But how about you, Brent? Are you actually interested in the game? Are you looking to pick it up, or are you sort of like everyone else and just waiting for reviews?
So for me, for a Final Fantasy game to be good, it either has to have good combat or it has to have a good story. And I have almost zero faith in a good story coming out of a Final Fantasy game at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
And so we'll see how the combat is. I think it could be pretty rad. There's a lot of... I like all the videos I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good when it works, when you execute a warp strike and you're dodging, he's going around, you're rolling around. It feels good when it works, but the minute it's just not working as it should at the moment, there's a lot of them little issues that sort of annoy the hell out of you. Like, it feels a lot like a Kingdom Hearts game in that respect, but a bit more grounded and a lot more refined. But yeah, we'll have to see.
It's not impossible for it to be a good game, but it's getting less likely.
No. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
That's my ultimate point, really. Yeah. All right, well, we should probably move on to our last segment, which is content callouts. And in this section of the podcast, we basically all pick a piece of content which we've either seen on Sifted or anywhere else, but mainly Sifted, and just give it a shout out so our listeners can go and check it out if they've missed it. So we'll start off with you, Evan. Do you want to give your content call out for the week?
Yeah, so my content call out of the week is introducing Sifted Elite. So basically, Sifted Elite allows you to donate money to the site. You can donate $1. You can donate as much as you want. And the main thing is if you hit the $50 mark, you become what has been called the Sifted Elite member. So you end up getting, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you get a custom green avatar frame and a green background on the site. And then once you're an elite member, even if you don't donate any more money, you always stay elite. And I think, Brent, you had also said donations stack. So even if you donated like $1 a day or like $5 a month, once your accumulated donations hit the 50 mark, you will become elite, which I think is cool. And I mean, this article is currently the most popular article on Sifted. It's got like 179 comments, and it looks like people are being very generous and donating. I think it's really cool. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't seen it already, definitely check it out.
Yep. Although you can't miss it because everyone's really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm joking. How about you, Brent? What is your call out of the week?
My call out is Bossman at Home. It's Kyle Bossman's new show.
Okay.
I like it just because I've always liked Kyle Bossman, but also I like it because he does this in his tiny LA apartment.
Yeah, and, I saw that. Yeah. It's got the kitchen in the background.
All the comments were like, is that really where he lives? Like, I thought all the game trailers guys were rich. And I'm just oh my God, guys. Like, none of these people are rich.
Yeah, like games journalists, they are. Yeah, they're pretty much the bottom of the food chain. I feel bad for them because they do like a lot of hard work and, they don't get compensated for it all the time like that. But yeah, it's nice to see like a lot of people sort of realize like that's the life of a games journalist,
And like, I think they saw Brandon's house because that's where they're doing the Easy Allies stuff. And it's like, remember Brandon sold game trailers to Viacom for I don't think I'm supposed to
lot
know
of
that
money.
amount of millions of dollars. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit different than your typical games person. And so I just hope everyone remembers that. Like, that's why we have the donate feature. It's not because Sifted's rolling in cash, guys. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, I watched it this morning, I think, and it was just funny, like seeing him out of the suit,
Yeah.
without the crazy backgrounds or whatever. Like, it's nice to just see like a more casual show. Like the whole Easy Allies sort of run up. Like, I think it's been really cool so far. Like they've
been quick with it.
Yeah,
They've been really quick with all their stuff. I mean, they had the Quantum Break review up, and it's so cool to see this stuff back. Like, yeah, Bosman at Home is basically the final Bosman, and it's basically a game trailers review, but it's good. Like, there's Brandon Jones's voice. I remember. Okay, there's Bosman doing his thing every week. I'm glad to see these things back.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know how much normal people are going to notice this, but the Quantum Break review is actually edited by Brandon as well, and Brandon's one of the best editors ever.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to the stuff he edits versus the stuff that other people edit, he's a really, really, really good editor. So it's nice to see him back behind Final Cut.
Oh, that's cool.
No,
I didn't know that. And yeah, he's like the trailer guy, right? So he would know.
Mm-hmm.
He probably like
Trailer Jones.
Yeah,
literally
absorbed stuff from that as well.
It's one of those things you kind of have to be trained to look for that stuff. But both him and Jeff that started game trailers are fantastic editors.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think either of them really do it anymore. But it was nice to see Brandon do a couple things.
All right, I'll have to give that Quantum Break review another watch then.
Cool. So my call out for the week is actually I'm gonna give a hat off. Like, doff my hat at the NX fakes that were sort of spreading around. Like, there was a couple of articles about them. And I have to say, they absolutely nailed me, like, to the wall. Because, they totally got me. Them hoaxes were just beautiful. Like, the first one was a bit, that could be faked. But the second one with, like, the 3D printed sort of units, that was, there's just no way to know if that's fake or not. So, like, from now on, I've definitely learnt my lesson. So from now on, I'm definitely not going to trust any hardware leak ever again.
Yeah, how can you?
How could you after that? The like fucking reflected trees, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's from this game studio." True. How could that? I still think it's real. It's real.
Like, is that what did you?
How they made it.
What did you think, Brent, when you saw it? Like the first picture, did you think like, "Yep," or were you skeptical?
I mean, yeah, it's got to be. If they're not going to have buttons, they got to have some kind of haptic screen. Is kind of where I was at with it, but who knows? Maybe it'd work out. Yeah, I'm a little worried, man. It's what the patent thing looks like. I'd be super surprised if it actually looks like this.
I think that's my major, well, not really worry, but that's my main sort of belief that Nintendo didn't say anything about this thing because it was pretty damn close to their final, and that is what is. I think everyone's sort of forgetting. It's like, yeah, they were faked, but I reckon they're pretty close to the real thing, Because Nintendo didn't say anything, and it just fits. It all just sort of fits in a weird sort of way, especially with the pattern.
I would have bet so much money on this if that was a thing. I could have sworn it was true.
Yeah. Cool. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. First and foremost, I just want to say a massive thanks to Brent in every respect for not only coming on the show but making an awesome site. The community has been awesome. The site is buttery smooth. You should be very, very proud. Like, the work that you're doing is amazing.
Thanks, man.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, other than that, we just wanted to say thank you everyone for listening to us every week. It's kind of weird that we have a following base now. It's very weird, but it's still pretty cool. Like, we're still learning, we're still figuring stuff out, so bear with us. We'll definitely get there eventually, and we'll definitely have Brent back on the show at some point.
Sweet.
As always, we're going to sign off with our Twitter handles and our goodbyes and our sign-offs. So do you want to start us off, Brent?
Sure. I'm UltimateBrent on the site, and I'm at UltimateBrent on Twitter, if you can figure out that one.
And you also have a podcast with your friends, right? Do you want to plug that one in?
No, let's move on.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I do a podcast with my friends called the Big Bada Boomcast.
Okay.
You can find it at
that name. That's amazing.
BigBadaBoomGames.com.
Cool. How about you, Evan?
You can find me at the Stand User on Twitter, Giant Bomb, and one other thing that I forgot. It's not important.
What, Sifted?
Oh, it's not important. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. And Brent's our guest. It's not
I know,
important.
right?
You better edit
I'm
that
telling. I'm telling Shane.
out. I can't believe that's the thing I forgot.
You're going to get like a pink border by the end of the day, on your avatar. That's
Oh, man. Yeah, shame. Yeah, take that elite off there. I don't deserve that. You can find me at the stand user, Twitter Giant Bomb, and of course, Sifted.
Cool. So for me, I am at VinHillArt. You can find me on Twitter. You can find some of my finger paintings on there from time to time. And of course, I'll be floating around on Sifted. If you want to be on the show as well, make sure you message me on Sifted and just let us know what mic you've got and where you live, and we'll try and get you on the list and get you on the show as soon as we can. The list is getting pretty beefy at the minute. I think we got like maybe 7 or 8 more people like on the list, so it is first come, first serve, so you'll have to bear with us. But then I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's listening, and we shall catch you guys next week. So thanks again, Brent, and we will catch you later.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Right, cool. See ya.
All right, bye-bye. See ya.
See you guys next time.